Ladies and gentlemen, we are live. Welcome to the show today. I just heard something crash upstairs. I'm going to blame Tim on that one. Thanks for joining us. Glad to have you on another hashtag YMB Live show. Hashtag because we use Twitter a lot and we encourage you to use Twitter. I am Daniel Brown and I'm here with my main men.
Tim Baker. My main man.
And John Stewart.
So we decided not to do music today because we realized, I really should have known this, but whenever we did the music, the Google Hangout kind of cut it up really weird because of just Google Hangout does what it does, and whatever, we'll live. So no music today, unless you're on the radio stream. You did get a sneak preview, and I guess it's worth, I want to advertise that we start the radio stream just for fun, 5 or 10 minutes early, and you can hear us harass each other and whatever the heck we do, yell at each other because we're late or whatever. So any Wednesday, if you want to head to youmeandbtc.com/live and start the audio stream early, you're definitely invited to. Although I still recommend the video stream once we do go live because of my beautiful face. So yeah, I definitely want to do that. All right, so first thing, I got to stop screaming. I'm hearing myself all the way in Tim's room now. First thing is Twitter. Like I said, get to Twitter, use hashtag YMBLive, tweet to @YouMeAndBTC. If you have anything at all for us, a headline you want us to cover, send us a link, a question, a comment. Make sure you do that. We also have our poll open, and I guess we might as well start with that story. I guess that could be our standard practice, is to start with the poll story, because that makes a lot of sense, and then people know what it's all about. So head to youmeandbtc.com/live, and we have a poll in there for the dope movie, which is coming out this Friday. Basically, are you going to go and are you going to spend Bitcoin? But we'll explain a whole lot more about that in a moment. I think I covered everything. youmeandbtc.com/live. You can watch, listen, tweet, and vote right on that page. I also want to welcome anybody from liberty.me. We do go out through there as well, and there's a chat box over there. That's liberty.me/live. I'm going to head over there and keep an eye on the chat if anybody has questions. Okay, cool. So, did I hit everything? We ready to jump into this dope movie stuff?
Yeah, I think so. Or,
cool.
You think we'll coin it, everybody, and do a little pointing thing?
That's a really good call. That's a good call. Yeah, this is YMB Live, brought to you by Genitrust. There we go. Genitrust. I pointed correctly. Yeah, Tim's got it too. Genitrust, the makers of Wall of Coins. Listen, I said this, 3 weeks ago when we first started this show, and it's still true today. I use Wall of Coins every single day. It's an amazing service. You can buy Bitcoin with cash, same day. Honestly, within a half an hour of going to their website, you could be walking away with thousands of dollars worth of Bitcoin if you want. You pay with cash, deposit it in a bank account, and you get Bitcoin in minutes. You can also sell Bitcoin for cash, deposited straight into your bank account. Again, within minutes, within hours, depending on your rate, just if somebody wants to buy it. Super cool service, super friendly customer support. At this point I've made friends with 2 or 3 of their customer service reps. They call me all the time and they say they love the show, they watch the show. Great people. So really love having them. That's Genitrust, the makers of Wall of Coins, which is at wallofcoins.com. All right, that was a good call, Tim. I guess we can jump straight into...
My work here is done.
Exactly.
Don't talk again for the rest of the show.
Yeah, I will contribute for the rest of the show. Anything.
Don't talk anymore. Just stop.
Yeah, Tim, you're done. We're sidelining you. We're still keeping you on screen so that we don't break the contract, but you're not allowed to talk. Okay, the Dope movie. I did not hear about this until yesterday, but apparently it's a pretty big deal. It's an independent film. Dope. I usually saw it spelled with all caps, DOPE, and Sundance loved it. Sundance, the film festival, all the critics said, all kinds of great stuff about it. When it comes to indie films, obviously they can be all over the map. I mean, even if they're fairly well budgeted and fairly well done, and even if the critics love them, you never know what kind of messages they're going to send. A lot of times they can be pretty darn liberal and just annoying messages and stuff like that. So, well, yeah, sure, yeah, we'll go with that. But anyway, I'm definitely interested in this movie. I have no clue if it's actually going to be as good as they say. But, well, I guess I should say the reason I'm interested is because it features Bitcoin. Well, I mean, it's probably not the main topic, but it includes, several young. I think 3 or 4 people are pictured with the promos and stuff. Several young African American. I think it's even high schoolers, and they sell ecstasy online for Bitcoin. And yeah, it is.
So confused. I thought the movie was set in the 80s or something. Or is it because he has like a specific style of clothing? I only saw one trailer, but I thought it was. I had no idea it was about them selling anything. I wasn't paying attention, and I thought it looked like it was a kid from the 90s. Like that kind of. I was so confused when I heard it had to do with Bitcoin. I'm like, how? But.
Yeah.
I actually know what you're saying, Tim. I could see that they kind of have that kind of look, but apparently that's just what they look like because it involves Bitcoin and drug trade. So, and anyway, so it's featured in there. I think that's pretty cool. I have no clue if the messages are going to be good or bad. I wrote an article. Well, I wrote it yesterday. It's not out yet, but just on the movie and on the fact that they're featuring Bitcoin. And at the end, I kind of came to I mentioned that it's going to be really interesting to see if they send positive or negative messages or conflicting messages, especially in light of Ross Ulbricht, right? Weeks ago, he got life in prison for running this online drug trade, right?
Yeah.
And the movie, though, would have been made, I don't know, within the past few years. So it's interesting. I mean, will the movie reflect anything good or bad about the life sentence? Will the movie promote the drug trade? Will it say that, oh, drugs are bad, but unless you do them right, or maybe like these kids just really needed the money and so Bitcoin helped them? I don't know. I have no clue. So we'll just have to see.
I've never seen a single movie or anything ever promote the drug trade. I mean, the closest thing would be season 1 of Breaking Bad, maybe, but like the rest of the show, completely.
Promoting the drug trade?
Maybe. I will say though, I can't think of any specifically.
Drug use.
Yeah, but never drug trade.
But
drug use is one thing. You see that all the time.
You can argue that movies especially about like the big not gangster movies, but they're specifically about like drug trade people. I'd say that those definitely they portray it in a way that I think is more promotional than negative. Even if they say that, well, he dies at the end, it still has like kids going, oh, that's cool, and it's putting off the image of a drug dealer being cool, and I think it's probably what's going to partly happen from this. I mean, I do know a little bit. I read a little bit of a synopsis thing as to why they're using it, so I know a little bit more than you do, Daniel. But I'm waiting for a bunch of kids to now try to sell drugs online using Bitcoin and having a rush of arrests because they're idiots, because they saw it in the movie and went, I can make money. But
I
Yeah, that's what
I don't really know what you were talking about with the thing with the drug dealers coming off as cool, unless it's things where it really has nothing to do with drugs and they
like
just have.
Scarface,
oh,
like that kind of a movie, Scarface or American Gangster or
I I
really any.
If you've ever seen the original
Well, no, I
Scarface, that
wasn't
was
talking about
not
the
the
original
intent at
Scarface.
all. So, well,
I
yeah, so the only things
I'm
that I've
talking
ever
about in
seen,
popular culture. Those
yeah, but those movies don't
people.
really have messages. I've never seen a movie that's actually
Yeah.
trying to
Well,
send
yeah.
a message that say positive things about the drug
Like,
trade.
look, you don't want to sell ecstasy online, kids. You want to sell marijuana because there's a lot bigger of a market. That's the kind of message it's going to have, Daniel, like that.
you know I don't know. Like there are maybe this is kind of already what you're talking. Well, what I'll start with is that in pop culture, the drug trade, maybe not specifically, but the idea of of resisting and of doing things that are generally considered wrong is obviously huge in pop culture. And I mean, it's all over the place, right? That's and in terms of the drug trade, a lot of the big, you know, R-rated Jonah Hill party type movies, Project X, stuff like that. Obviously, drugs are everywhere, and they don't explicitly promote them, but there's also not really any negative messages either. It's just kind of there, and that's just what they do. I
Well,
remember that in The Sitter, I mean, the whole the whole story in The Sitter was this was Jonah Hill. It was him trying to get drugs and deliver them to this girl because she'd probably have sex with him or something. That's the entire movie. He's supposed to be babysitting, but he just takes the kids with him on this whole adventure. I mean that happens, and that's I definitely don't think you can call that a slight to drugs because they never really said anything bad about doing all this stuff. I mean, he was hesitant. He knew it would be dangerous, I guess, but he still did it, and it still worked. But maybe it's not necessarily promoting it either. I mean, it's just part of the movie. So it's hard to tell, but I will say the idea of resisting, the idea of doing bad things is huge in pop culture.
Yeah, the only movie I could think of is like Pineapple Express, which is like not in any way trying to make an intelligent statement about anything. I don't
I
really.
think this is supposed to be a trauma slash comedy thing. That's how
Yeah,
it's being billed loosely anyway. So I'd imagine it'd probably go more along that. I don't know. Drugs are more of a vehicle to just move the story along. I don't think it's going to be really about that. I
yeah.
wonder how much Bitcoin is going to be in there versus them kind of just
Right. That's actually
mentioning.
that's yeah, exactly. That's another thing that could be worth bringing up is they might just mention it once or twice, like, oh, we accept Bitcoin, that's how we do it, and then the whole thing
So,
is,
oh,
a
how do you
different
get your
story.
ex? Oh,
So
we take Bitcoin, and then you'll have everybody in the crowd just, yay, we have a Bitcoin. We're so
yeah,
happy.
yeah. Well, that happened to me. They mentioned Bitcoin in Community. It was another
Yeah,
paintball
and Daniel
episode.
freaked out.
It was so good, John. You totally have to start watching that again. Oh
Is
man,
it still
he was.
on?
Oh well, no, season 6 just ended, so they're trying to figure out if season 7 is going to be next or a movie.
Wait,
But
didn't they say 6 seasons in a movie?
I
Wasn't
know,
that
I
the
know. That's
thing?
why everybody wants a movie. Yeah,
Well,
exactly.
no, they definitely like were actually meaning that they wanted to do that, so they probably will.
Oh, I know. Yeah, I mean, it's not official yet, but yeah, I mean, all the producers and stuff want to make it happen. So, but no, it was another paintball episode, and they were chasing this like
Another
ammo
one?
dealer. Oh yeah, they do one. They do one in every season.
No.
But they were chasing this ammo dealer down the hall, and previously he had already made a bunch of really stupid sex jokes. And like all of a sudden he just like stops and he turns around. He's like, "I do accept sex in return for paintballs or beer, but not Bitcoin. I It's not that I don't have faith in it. I just think it needed to stabilize and stuff." So
That's kind of
that was
funny.
cool. Yeah. But hey, listen, well, two things. First of all, in terms of the dope movie, we do have that's our poll. I'll mention that again. Get to youmeandbtc.com/live and vote in our poll. Tell us if you want to see it. Tell us if you're going to spend Bitcoin, because that's the thing that we haven't even gotten to yet. Not only is dope about does it involve Bitcoin,
Why is it called dope?
but
Because it's about selling
drug
dope.
probably.
Yeah, but it's not.
Well, no,
Ecstasy isn't dope.
Dude,
I know,
any
Tim,
drug
it's
is...
a
I
play
know.
on,
Apparently, with how many people use it, it's fucking annoying.
it's a play on words though, Tim, because I think part of it is
Like,
too is like dope in terms of like a positive thing, like
yeah, I
you're
know.
dope, you're awesome,
I
you're
know.
great. So like
I
I
know.
think
I
that's
still
part
hate it.
of
I hate
the
it more for that because they're forcing it to work when it doesn't work because they're hacks. But
well,
you know,
maybe. I don't know.
I don't
But
know.
still, another.
Just,
Go ahead, John.
we're not. No, I'm not going. Just forget about it.
this isn't
Another.
about Bitcoin only.
I I think like half of the stuff we say is stuff that we shouldn't have gone there, but um,
I'm not going to argue about the
another
title for 30 minutes.
another big piece of news is that movietickets.com. Gosh, I wish I bought that domain when it came out. Movietickets.com has partnered with the makers of the movie and with GoCoin to accept Bitcoin for tickets to the movie. So that's really cool. I mean, what everybody kept saying is that this dope is like fresh, innovative, unique, and so is Bitcoin. They really go together perfectly. They're original. They're new. And I could see that. I think it's pretty cool. I haven't seen the movie yet, but I'm definitely interested, and I'm glad to see Bitcoin. See, this is how I see it. If it's cool enough to have Bitcoin even mentioned in pop culture, with community and with this movie and stuff. That's great. That really is helpful. It raises awareness and everything. But if you can do that and then show people that it's not just this weird thing out there. You can actually use it to buy movie tickets. I think that sends a great message, I think. And I think it'll get a lot of attention for that. I don't know if they didn't really say in the press release if they're going to keep this Bitcoin acceptance going for forever for any movie. In the press release, really all it said was for dope. You can buy tickets to dope with Bitcoin. But if you're going to set up all the infrastructure, if you're going to partner with GoCoin, I feel certain that when this is all done and over and done with, they're gonna say, well, wait, why don't we just click one button and it'll be another payment option for all of our movies, and it doesn't really cost us anything. I feel like they have to continue it. So, I mean, we'll see, but that's what I envision. All right, Tim and John, you got to answer the poll. I'm going to do the same. Are you going to see the movie?
Where you
Or I
going,
mean, do
Dan?
you hope to? Am I going?
Yeah.
Tim, you can't answer a question with a question.
Yeah, I can. I wasn't
No, yeah,
trying to answer. I was trying to delay me answering because I don't want to have
I
to
really.
drive.
Oh, yeah, no, I'll drive. I'm planning on going this the day it comes out. It comes out this Friday, so and I'm pretty free on Friday, so yeah, I'm hoping to go, and yeah, I'll take you, Tim.
Oh, thank you. Will you pay for everything, Daniel? I don't pay for my own
Uh,
things.
Tim, I already pay for everything you buy because all of your money comes from me. So,
Since when? You don't
all
make me
right.
nearly enough money for that, Daniel. Don't even.
I
No.
know, I know.
Yeah. I'll probably. Yes. I'll go and I'll spend Bitcoin on it.
Cool. All right, I'll buy your tickets for you. Well, I won't pay for them, but I'll buy them for you. Any thoughts, John? You want
Jeez.
to see it?
Yeah, I'd see it if I'd like actually do it. Yeah.
Sweet. We did get one other answer. You can fill in your own answer in the poll too, and they just said maybe. So cool. Here's what you should do actually. What's the date? We're about halfway through June, right? So what? I guess movies. How long do movies stay in theaters? 3, 4 weeks?
I
Anyway, what
have
you could
no
do is
idea.
you could either wait
I don't know.
until next Thursday. We'll probably briefly mention how the movie was in our or next Wednesday. I guess that we could mention it on the live show too. Or wait until the first Saturday of July if John chooses to cover the movie in his Bitcoin and the Arts podcast. Wait until one of those days, see what we thought of it, and then decide if you want to go see it. That's what you should do. Anyway.
Yes,
Okay,
please.
we
Put your
nailed
life
it
on
to
hold
death.
for us.
I have
No,
no clue what you said, Tim.
nothing. Go.
This happens a lot with Tim. He pretty much regrets everything he says as soon as he says it.
No, I don't
Uh,
see that there's a point to continuing to talk with you because then I'm wasting everybody's
Tim, I don't
time,
want
which is what I'm
to.
doing
Tim, there's
now.
no point in talking to you. So, all right,
Jeez, this is
we're
gonna
gonna
be.
move on. I don't care. Tim and John, you guys can fight over who gets to tell their next story next. But I'm
All
gonna
We're
right,
gonna do
mention
this
that.
again.
you
I'm
go,
gonna
John.
mention that you can tweet us. We're definitely looking for tweets if you have any thoughts, comments, or questions. If you want to head to youmeandbtc.com/live, you will. That's where there's a button right there. It fills in the hashtag YMBLive. Our username is at youmeandbtc. Send us anything you like over there. You can also vote and watch and listen at youmeandbtc.com/live. We're going to thank Genitrust again for helping out with the show. The makers of Wall of Coins, a really great Bitcoin trading service at wallofcoins.com. You can buy or sell Bitcoin for cash in literally minutes, so it's pretty sweet, and I use them every day. All right. Well, I know that Tim has a pretty interesting story from Coinbase. So, you want to cover that, Tim? Or is John gonna fight here?
I mean, I don't know. I can do that first.
All right, let's go for it.
Okay, it's Coinbase apparently has just now, well, yeah, just today launched a instant exchange. So, I haven't used Coinbase in a very, very long time, so I really don't know what it was like before this, but now it's making it easier so that you can just connect your local currency into it whenever you buy something, whenever you sell some, whenever you buy or sell it. It gets immediately converted from Bitcoin into dollars or from dollars into Bitcoin to be sent, and then that person can convert it back to dollars. It's just they're really focusing on trying to make things easier for people who don't want to have to worry about the exchange rates. So this covers as of right now anyone with a U.S. dollar, euro, and or Great Britain's pound wallets can begin using instant exchange today. So, yeah, I mean, we keep on seeing more of this stuff because I think
Did it
this is one
say
of the bigger things that's going to help bring people in.
when you just read that list of currencies? You said, okay, there it is. Okay, so it says USD, Euro, and Great Britain pound wallets. Now, I do use Coinbase a fair bit, and I think what they mean is, for instance, previously you did not have a USD wallet on Coinbase. You instead you had to link it to your bank account, and you could uh, buy Bitcoin from your bank account, but it would take a few days.
Yeah.
Later on, they added the feature where up to a certain limit, as long as you were verified, identity and everything, you could instantly buy a certain amount, up to $1,000 a week, and it would still come from your bank account, but instead of waiting for the transfer to come through, the Bitcoin would become available immediately. But that's still not a USD wallet. The next step they took was to actually let you store dollars in Coinbase. Not in your bank account. You could move money from your bank account into Coinbase and it would still be dollars. And that was called a USD wallet. And that's available in most states. I'm not sure how many, possibly all of them by now. But anyway, so what they're saying is if you're in a place where you can have a USD wallet, a Euro wallet, a pound wallet, then you can keep your money in your own currency. But if you buy something from a Coinbase merchant, or if you send money to somebody, say I have $100 and I want to send $10 to Tim, I don't need to exchange it. I can just say send Tim $10 worth of Bitcoin, and any money, and it does the exchange automatically. I mean, it's something you already could have done. You could have just exchanged it and then sold it, because if you have a USD wallet, you can instantly exchange. They just make it a little easier, a little quicker. Uh, which fine, that's helpful, I guess. But the other option is instant receive, where you get a special Bitcoin address, and it's your own address, but any Bitcoin sent to that address automatically gets converted into your USD wallet. And that one seems pretty cool too. I mean, if I mean, not really to me. I wouldn't use it because I like keeping my money in Bitcoin as much as possible. And it's been a good few days to do that. The price has been going up quite nicely. I think we're up
Yeah.
over 250. So yeah, it's definitely been some good days to keep your money in Bitcoin. But anyway, so if
I don't
you
know, a lot of people
wanted to,
don't want to
though,
do it though.
what's that?
I think a lot of people don't want to do that though. A lot of people. I mean,
Right.
for Coinbase, especially Coinbase, who they're probably going to be serving mostly, I think this is going to be great for them.
Yeah, and I mean, I would, that's not my preference, but there's not really anything wrong with that. If you really want to just keep your money in dollars, but have it accessible with Bitcoin, instantly accessible to send through Bitcoin and stuff like that. All right, I mean, I can live with that. It's if you don't trust it and that's how you want to do it, not a huge deal. I mean, that's not how I do it, but sure.
Daniel says, carry on.
I talked way too much already in this episode. Was there anything else in that story we had to hit? Not really. I mean, it's Coinbase. Coinbase is, I will
What
say,
does
I
that
mean,
mean?
I use it, but it is annoying. That's all I'm going to say. Is they've hassled me several times about they've one time this was this was really annoying. Not really. I mean, I didn't lose anything, but I think I sold Bitcoin for say $500, and they deposited $500 into my bank account twice. So, and then I didn't even notice. And then like a week later, they withdrew $500 from my bank account, and I emailed them. I'm like, "Hey guys, you just took $500 out of my bank account. What's up?" And then they told me. I'm like, "Oh, crap! I shouldn't. I should have took that. I should have taken that money out of my account and just ran with it." But anyway, but no, we don't need to harp on that. But they've hassled me several times, and whatever. They're Coinbase. All right. Anything else there? Head to umanbtc.com/live. That's where all the cool stuff is. Watch, listen, tweet us anything you like, and vote. I did get some notifications. Let me see. Ooh, Jason sent us a tweet. Let me see what it says. Looking to do some investing in Bitcoin. Recommendations. Interesting question. I wonder what he means by investing in Bitcoin. Does he mean companies? I mean, if you just mean in Bitcoin itself and you're asking how to buy Bitcoin, well, I'll say it again. That's when you go to Genitrust, wallofcoins.com, the best place to buy Bitcoin as quick as you like. If you're looking for companies to invest in, I got to be honest. I'm not that interested in that kind of stuff. I'm not some kind of filthy rich banker who can just dump his money on all kinds of venture businesses and startups and whatever. I don't even honestly know how you would go about that. I don't quite. I mean, I read news stories that says this company and this company raised $10 million, and that's cool. but I've never done it, never taken part. Honestly, I'm not that interested in investing. Even with Bitcoin alone, like I like when the price goes up, but I just prefer not to take the risk. I mean, I prefer to control my own money and make it the way I can make it, you know? I mean, it depends how you define investing. I definitely invest in this show in a lot of ways. I spent, 450 bucks on this microphone, so I mean that's an investment, I guess. So it's not like I never invest, but when it comes to traditional like buy stock at a company, I'm not saying I wouldn't do it. I mean, if I saw the right company, maybe I would, especially if I had extra money, but at the moment, I prefer not to take the risk. So sorry, I that wasn't much help. But Tim and John, any, I don't think you guys invest either. Any thoughts?
No, I mean I don't know
No.
anything about it.
I
Just
know
give
there are
somebody
some
money.
like
Don't
Yeah.
I,
don't like watch out. Some people tell you they're homeless and they're not.
Yeah.
That
They lie to you
that's
sometimes, those
happened to
yeah,
me.
bastards.
That's happened to me a couple times.
like you try and invest in the homeless person, give them money, and someday they'll give you more back,
I'll give you
supposedly.
$50 now to save you, and then whenever you make a million, like the movies always tell me you will, you'll give me back so much money later.
There are, if you are going to invest, kind of in stocks. Okay, you know what? This might actually be my one recommendation is Overstock because they I don't know if they've finalized it yet or if they're still working on it, but they're putting some stock on a blockchain based trading system, right? So that would be, if you're going to buy any stock, I think it would be really cool to look into something blockchain based. And then when it comes to overstock.com, they love Bitcoin. Uh, Patrick Byrne knows his stuff. He actually went to school for philosophy, so he's really smart. And he's a good businessman. I mean, he's he's rich. I mean, there's no that's how you that's a good start. And Overstock makes money, and that's pretty cool. So actually, I'm glad I thought of it because that is a pretty serious recommendation to at least look into overstock.com because yeah, I mean they seem legit to us. Again, I haven't done it. I'm not an advisor. I'm not going to promise you anything at all. This advice comes with no warranties express or implied, but yeah, look into it. That would be one of that if I wanted to invest, if I had extra money, that would be the first place I would look. So awesome. Well, no, thanks for the question, Jason. Really glad to have you out there and asking questions. Uh, Anybody else? Send a tweet to @YouMe and BTC with the hashtag YMBLive. If you have questions, comments, or a headline that you'd like us to cover, send us a link and we will get to it. All right. I need to stop talking. I think I've been going way too much. So I'm going to turn things over to John, and he can. I think I say this every show, but he can take it away with whatever the heck he wants to take it away with.
Let's see. I don't know what I want to start with because I have a few articles.
Oh, so much good stuff. That's what this show's
Yeah.
for, all the good stuff.
Yeah. We let's see.
What are our options?
Two of them aren't that interesting, at least to me. The other one's pretty interesting. So do you want an interesting one or a not interesting? Well, you guys might
All
think
right.
they're all
Here's what
interesting.
we'll do. We'll let you go twice in a row. Do a not interesting one, and if it's quick, and we'll be done with it, and then we'll do the interesting one.
Okay. Okay. All right. This one should be easy because we talk about this all the time. I don't even know why I picked this one because it's. But the headline is Bitcoin. It's from BloombergView.com. The headline is Bitcoin will become money if it becomes boring. Here, I'll post that in the chat so you guys can. Yeah, I mean, we've talked about this before. That, well, I don't know. I guess he approaches it maybe from a little bit of a different angle. and he starts the article talking about gold, and he's like, people like gold, these gold bugs, they say gold is real money, and like that's the only real money. We had that incident with that one guy who thought gold was the only real money, but
Yeah.
the guy in the article is basically saying, no, gold isn't money, and neither is Bitcoin, because money is something. Basically, what he says is that the fact that the the dollar and other fiat currencies actually have a very small amount. Well, it's supposed to be a small amount of inflation. Like, it's actually planned to be inflationary because that's how they manage to keep it more stable. And basically, I guess what he's saying is that until something is stable, it's not money, it's just an investment. And he has a point, I guess, to some extent.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's
money is just a word, and you can.
right. That's what I was going to kind of get to. Is it's just it depends how you define money, right? I mean, if you define money as something that's slightly inflationary, then sure, then I guess it's not money. But why would you define it that way? The 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 best way, I mean, again, it's tough to define money, but I think this was actually from Edward Castronova's book, Wildcat Currency. I could be wrong, and he probably took it from somebody else anyway, so it's not that important. But the most rational way that I've heard to define it is just it serves two purposes: a medium of exchange and a savings, a thing that you can save and that will still have value later. And
Yeah, see,
that's
that's this guy is saying those are two different things, I guess.
yeah, which I've actually heard, people say in the Bitcoin space, now that there's altcoins, now that you can have whatever currencies you want, you could have two side-by-side currencies, one for saving and one for debt, basically. One that gets loaned out, one that gets traded more. I mean, I guess sure that's theoretically possible, or uh, it seems like too much hassle to me, but if it works, right? So yeah, I mean, I guess if you can design the currencies well enough such that they really work better for different purposes, then sure. I mean, if one of them's better for saving and a different one's better for transferring, then all right, fine. But the issue comes when you think, well, if something is not good for exchanging, then how is it worth saving, right? If nobody if nobody's going to trade with it, if nobody wants it, then why would you save it,
Well,
right?
see,
I
the
mean,
thing is not that nobody wants it. The It's the same reason that people keep if they're doing things in a smart way, most people keep the bulk of their wealth in stocks and bonds and things like that rather than in the bank because it will lose value in the bank, but like I guess we could say this with gold. You're not gonna like the reason you buy gold isn't so that you can go out and buy things at McDonald's because you're expecting it to store value. And what he's saying is that the small banks plan for a small amount of inflation. Like they want that, and the reason is because it makes it spending. Because if your currency might be worth like twice as much in a couple of years, why are you going to spend it on anything?
right, exactly. You broke up a little bit there, and I
Okay.
apologize, but yeah, no, that does make sense. I mean, it's a balance that has to be met. I mean, you want to keep it because it's going to gain value, but you also want to be able to spend it because whatever you're going to buy is should be worth more. And
Yeah, but are
yeah,
they saying this is why people don't spend Bitcoin?
They're saying it's why people Yeah,
won't
why people
spend
don't.
as much.
But I think the article is actually more talking about why people won't even buy into it in the first place. Because if they're just doing it for an investment, you're better off doing stocks or buying gold, because
Yeah.
Bitcoin's not really meant to be something like that where you just pile in all this money and become rich. That's not the intended purpose. And so,
Is there an intended purpose for
because,
Bitcoin though?
yeah, I mean, that's a good point, but I don't think this is the intended purpose, or I don't think it was.
But yeah,
There
for
either
people
there
to
either
start
is.
making a bunch of money out of nowhere. Okay, I understand that. Yeah, if that's what you mean.
Yeah, so I think the guy's basically saying not that Bitcoin couldn't be money, or he's not trying to explain why people who already have it aren't spending it. I think it's more just like why people don't perceive it as a currency.
Right, and that is important, is perception, because I mean you could, in a lot of ways, say anything. A car could be considered money if enough people used it and traded it, because they have value and you could trade with them if you really wanted to, but nobody actually perceive them as money because that's just not the way we do things. So perception is huge, and I think it is true that not many. Well, no, I
I
mean,
no, I think it's true. I think the guy's right that people don't perceive it as money. I mean, maybe we or maybe you guys talk to people who know more about it, but like anytime I tell someone that I use Bitcoin, they're like, it seems like they implicitly think that I'm like some kind of into like investing stuff or like gambling or something like that. And always one of the first questions people ask me is if I've ever bought anything with it. And
yeah,
they'll be like,
yeah,
"Well, what did you buy? Like, did you buy drugs or something?" No, it's like when I tell people, that's usually, if not the first question, one of the first questions is, "What can you buy?
right,
Have you bought anything with it?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I buy stuff all the time."
yeah, exactly. And but I do think, I mean, maybe the general uninformed public that doesn't know about Bitcoin, sure, maybe at first impression, maybe it seems like reward points or like airline miles, some kind of weird like bonus point feature, whatever, right? I mean, that I could see how most people would have that first impression. It's just some internet credit that you can play around with. But once, I don't think it takes long for people to switch that point of view, though. Once you use it for a little bit, it just seems like any other money. It seems like it is a cryptocurrency. It's just, oh yeah, I use it to buy stuff and sell stuff and for savings. That's, it's I think it just takes a very, very little bit of understanding and use for that perception to change.
Yeah, and I think you're asking a little bit too much of a lot of people, Daniel, to put into, because
I'm not
if you
asking them to
don't,
do anything.
I
I
know,
think
I'm
that's
saying as
actually
far as
how
like
it
having
happens.
to understand it is going to be a lot
I didn't
less.
ask him to understand it. I just said that when they do just a tiny, tiny bit, then the perception will just automatically change. I'm not trying to say that everybody out there needs to understand that Bitcoin is money now. I'm just saying that I think that happens quickly.
Okay, yeah, what I'm saying is not that. I wasn't saying that you were forcing them to. I'm saying that about this talking about Bitcoin become money that's boring. I kind of disagree. I don't think the only, I mean, I don't think the biggest reason that people don't see it as money is just because it's volatile. I really don't think that many people pay attention to it. As
Actually,
far as how much, like most people know, like they know it's volatile, but only because they heard about it a year ago. They have no idea what it's doing at the current time. So I don't think it's
right.
just because it's volatile.
Well,
Two
This guy's
things.
trying.
the, I just want to say, I guess, real quick, that I don't think people know very much about it at all. And the reason why they probably don't think it's money is because they probably heard somebody else say that. And whoever else said it probably said it because it's volatile. I mean, that's like if
Two
you
things.
look at bigger sites or like kind of I don't know, like the kind of stuff that you hear on Fox News or something like that. Like that seems to be the position that those people take. that it's like you can't use it as money because it's not a good store of value. It's volatile. You can't predict it, and like that's the general public is just like one step removed from that. If that's not their reason, they probably just heard it from somebody who has that as the reason.
Yeah, I actually did a couple of weeks ago. Jeffrey Tucker was on the Fox Business Network, and that's actually almost exactly how it went down. Is they talked for a little bit. She said it was pretty cool, but she's like, well, wait, it's too volatile, right? And he's like, well, it's getting better, and she's like, well, it's cool, but I'm not going to trust it yet. Which I guess is actually the same thing that they said in Community, right?
Yeah, yeah. Exactly.
It's not that I don't have faith. It's just I needs to settle down. So.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's still the biggest thing.
Right.
Yeah, I mean,
it is interesting. Are you gonna let me talk, Tim?
You've talked enough.
Just last week.
Yeah,
just last week, we asked the question. Our poll was, how long do you think that Bitcoin will stay between about 220 and about 240? And now it's at 250, right? So as much as we want it to be stable, it is still moving. But even then, at least at the moment, it's moving upwards. I could live with that. So anyway, sorry. Go ahead, Tim. What about this article?
No, just mentioning about Fox or something. That Fox News actually just put out an article about paying people in Bitcoin and why that's a decent. Like it makes sense if you're paying people internationally. So I mean I just thought of that because I'd seen that on Bitcoin on the Reddit, and you guys mentioned that.
Yeah, no, this was
using
months ago.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
Well,
a month ago.
Oh no, I'm not talking about the same story. Are you saying that Fox News themselves are actually paying people in Bitcoin, or that they're just talking about it?
Yeah, they're just talking about it.
Okay.
Because there's a
that's
video
fine.
From
I do remember.
Yeah.
I do remember several months ago. Maybe it was actually No, it wasn't actually Khan Academy, but it was some website that was doing tutoring or something like that. Maybe crowdsourced tutoring. I forget. But basically, the guy said, well, the Bitcoin made this possible because we pay people in India to help tutor people, and if we had to pay them in regular currency, the fees would be out the frickin' sky high, right? We couldn't do this if we were trying to internationally pay people without Bitcoin, and so that is a really important point. And I've heard my own companies, Liberty.me, they say the same thing. Like, well, it's a million times easier to pay a Chinese developer in Bitcoin than it is to try and send a check and who knows what currency and exchange money and wait for it to get delivered and then let the banks do the transferring. Hell no, let's just send Bitcoin. So before we finish up with this article, I got to ask, obviously I haven't read the whole thing, but just for clarification, what does he mean by boring? I forgot that was even in the headline, but like when he's what about what's boring? What about being boring?
I think he means
money.
I think he means two things by boring. One, the volatility is gone; it's stable.
Okay.
And two, you can go to McDonald's and buy Big Macs with it, or not that you can, but that you will, or you're willing to, or it makes sense to.
Okay.
Actually,
no, I like that.
If that's your last thing, if that's your,
I'll finish. Yeah, one more sentence. This is like this is like the perfect amount of lag to like crisscross us. But no, I agree with that. It kind of stinks because when the Bitcoin price spikes, not only is it fun, you gain adoption and we profit if we're holding Bitcoin and stuff. So it does kind of stink that it can't keep being exciting, but that does make sense. When it stabilizes, then ultimately it becomes more useful for more people. So, all right, I'm done. Go, John.
Okay. Yeah, I just posted another link in the chat, just to throw another wrench into the machine that we have going right now. This was another thing. It's not really an article because it's one paragraph, but it was another thing I found today, and it's a guy basically saying on the marginalrevolution.com. I'm not. It looks like some kind of thing, like a forum or something, because I think I don't know. It looks something more like where users can post. I'm not really sure though. But basically, he says he thinks the price stability means that Bitcoin is actually dying right now, and that if it had a chance of taking off, it would probably be more volatile right now.
That's, yeah. I mean, it's an interesting thought.
Yeah,
I would.
I can't pretend to know enough to say whether that's true or not, but
Yeah, he talks about the Match.com theory of internet services, namely
yeah,
that they are up and running in more or less mature form pretty quickly. Maybe. I mean, I can see what he's saying. I mean, that is.
yeah, I think that the issue with that is that Bitcoin isn't just an internet service. It's way more.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
It'd be better
Yeah,
to
I mean,
compare it to something
because.
like the internet where it takes like 20 or 30 or
Oh,
40
heck
years
yeah.
for it.
Exactly. I think that's a really, really good point. You know, because YouTube and Facebook were pretty darn ubiquitous after 3 or 4 years. And it is true. I mean, those businesses exploded. But I totally, especially the biggest thing is just what we've been talking about, money. This Bitcoin, Facebook and YouTube have nothing to do with money. I mean, their content and advertising, yeah, I mean, money flows in and out and all over the place, but by no stretch of the imagination does Bitcoin or does Facebook somehow create a new form of currency or money. Well, I mean, I'm sure they have Facebook credits, but that's not at all the core of Facebook. Bitcoin is so incredibly original, so incredibly innovative, and it has this entire connection to money, which obviously is a huge thing around the frickin' globe. Yeah,
Yeah, money. It's a big thing. Have you heard of it
yeah,
yet?
yeah, exactly though. So I totally agree, John. It's just different. That's all there is to say. I'm sorry, but no, Bitcoin is not an internet service. It's completely different, completely innovative, and yeah. So interesting thought, and it could still come to that. I mean, that's people always talk about Bitcoin could turn out like MySpace. Sure, I mean that's absolutely possible, but
Yeah.
doesn't work perfectly.
Actually, based on one of my other articles, I would believe that is pretty likely. But we can talk about that later, I guess.
You mean likely that Bitcoin will turn out like MySpace?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, we can definitely get to that. My 2 cents, and I think I mentioned this last week, but basically the miners add $1 million to the market cap of Bitcoin every single day. So if Bitcoin is able to remain stable despite $1 million of inflation a day, I think that's a really good sign. That means people are interested, people are desperate for Bitcoin. A lot of people are buying Bitcoin. The price doesn't spike because there's inflation every day, but that's my 2 cents. We don't need to get into that again, but I think that's a really good indicator. So, okay, all right, let's do this one more time. If you're watching, you need to get to youmeandbtc.com/live. That's where you can you can interact with us. You can watch, listen, vote, and definitely tweet us. Send a tweet to @Yumi and BTC with the hashtag #Won'tBeLive, and we'd love to hear any questions. We had a question about investing in Bitcoin. That was an interesting question from Jason, so glad to have that. And if you have any questions, if you have a headline you want us to cover, send us a link, whatever. Twitter is the place with the hashtag #YMBLive. Also, we definitely want to thank Jenna Trust for helping cover this episode. makers of wallofcoins.com buy Bitcoin with cash in literally minutes, or sell Bitcoin for cash straight into your bank account, available immediately. That's what I like the most, is when I sell Bitcoin, I don't have to wait for any transfers. The money is available right away. So great website, great company, wallofcoins.com. All right, Tim, I'm going to say that it's your turn, and then we're going to, after you go, one of my favorite stories of the day is going to be, hopefully anyway, shapeshift.com, or no, it's .io, I think. Shapeshift is leaving New York because of the bit license. I think it's a really good move, and we will cover that shortly, but I'm going to let Tim talk about whatever the heck he wants to talk about.
Well, it's not as much of a it's not as much of a news article as it is just a comment by someone on the Bitcoin Reddit, and it's talking about a lot of BTC accepting businesses around him. The guy lives in Vancouver. The Redditor is Eminok.
Which also
a lot of
reminds
them
me.
What?
I'm gonna say this just so I don't forget. You guys can remind me, but we should talk about the world's first Bitcoin only brick and mortar store. We'll get to that.
Okay.
But go ahead, Tim.
Okay, well, he's just making the point that they're not accepting Bitcoin anymore, and he's kind of asking / saying, like, well, he's mentioning that, I mean, it is worrying that it's losing momentum. There isn't a guarantee that Bitcoin can't just fall apart, as we've been saying. I guess I'd ask, like, how to get more things to accept the thing. I guess this shows that some of the like keeping the price the same isn't necessarily just good.
Yeah, that is tough. I mean, he's saying that there's companies that were accepting Bitcoin and then stopped, right?
Yeah, 4 BTC accepting businesses that I frequented occasionally in Vancouver: Sweet Tooth Cafe, Lost and Found Cafe, Old Ginger Restaurant, and Besties have stopped accepting Bitcoin. I mean, that makes sense. They all sound like cafes, and it was just done to bring people in, and not that many people came in to.
Yeah. No, that is tough. And I guess what I would say is, when you have regular, in a physical transaction, any place that you're going to, the dollar is already there. It works. I mean, I hate saying it, but I have said it a couple times over the last few weeks. The dollar works. I mean, it works to buy stuff. It has value. It shouldn't, and it might not down the road, but for the time being, it really does work. And I think that's ultimately what it comes down to. Now they're in Vancouver, so whatever the heck currency they're using over there, or up there, right?
The Canadian dollar. I mean, that's all it is.
But I don't know why I was thinking Germany at first, but yeah, it's in Canada. So, but anyway, they have a regular currency that they've been using for, I don't know, probably centuries. I don't know when did the Canadian dollar start, but so it's there and it works. And so when you try and introduce Bitcoin in that kind of situation, it's maybe it might not have value right away for them to accept it. So online, obviously, Bitcoin is huge because credit cards are expensive. And anyway, yeah, so, it depends. If the Bitcoin price starts going up again, that could change things. As more people, a big thing is the infrastructure. Just like I've been saying, the dollar or fiat currency is there and it works. But over time, Bitcoin could become equally as developed and as natural, as usable. It'll take time, but it could happen. So that's my take.
Yeah. Do you want to keep going on this? Because I could bring my article in now if you wanted, but it might take a while. Or we can go to yours and come back.
No, I mean, if it's related, let's go for it.
All right. Well, Yeah, this is a Business Insider, UK.businessinsider.com article. Um, Banks are quote unquote very excited about what one of the world's best funded Bitcoin startups is doing. So it's BitPay actually. It's about BitPay. Um, yeah, this is kind of interesting because you're just talking about people who are starting to stop accepting Bitcoin, and BitPay has actually been having kind of a big problem recently, or I guess they're realizing what's been a problem for a while, and they say that they're not surprised by it, but according to the article, they've signed up 60,000 retailers to start using Bitcoin. The problem
Dang.
they're having is like they keep getting more and more retailers to accept it, but nobody's paying for stuff in Bitcoin.
Right.
And I
Right.
think that's the problem isn't that people aren't accepting Bitcoin, it's that nobody's using it to buy stuff. Um, but that's kind of just the intro to the article. The main thing is that BitPay is actually changing, I guess, what they're trying to do, and they're focusing now on trying to build like blockchain-based tools for banks and other things like that. And
Okay.
which is interesting because, like, I guess it last week or 2 weeks ago that we talked about BNY Mellon and how other banks are starting to mess around with the blockchain.
Right.
So
Right.
that's kind of where BitPay is trying to go right now, because they're not right now. It doesn't look like what they've been doing is going to be sustainable unless people overnight start using Bitcoin. But this goes back to what I was saying about how I'm scared that Bitcoin might become the MySpace of currencies. So I think like all this time we've been hoping that because Bitcoin is so technologically superior to like other currencies or whatever you want to say, that people are going to start using Bitcoin. And I think the problem is that instead of using Bitcoin, people are realizing how cool it is, and they're just taking the stuff from it and putting it in banks that are using dollars.
I I know what you're saying, and that is true. I don't necessarily see a problem with that, though. You're talking about, like we just said, with Coinbase, their instant system where you can keep your money in dollars, but it kind of gets transferred through Bitcoin, right? Is that
This is like no, this is completely almost has nothing to do with Bitcoin itself, and it's just more about the blockchain. Like we were talking about a couple weeks ago about how banks are setting up like internal blockchains and stuff like that. Right, the one thing that they bring up in this article, which this is actually kind of interesting, I'd never really thought about how this works, but banks do clearing every day. So like when you use a
right?
credit card or whatever, the money doesn't actually get transferred till the end of the day. They just keep a record of every transaction, and at the end of the day, they clear all of them. And I guess
Right, right.
basically, a lot of banks now are saying if we started using blockchains, have instant, we could do this like a lot quicker and not have to have these big clearing operations at the end of the day. And
Right.
it's
Were you
that
there?
kind of stuff. And so I guess what I'm saying is that I feel like all the things that we say are so great about, not all the things, because I think there are certain things about Bitcoin that are not going to be transferable, but like the speed and the security and stuff like that, it looks to me like banks are just going to start using blockchains and integrate that into like the US regular dollar infrastructure,
Right.
and
I'm not.
have nothing to do
I'm
with
one.
Bitcoin itself.
Yeah, I'm wondering if maybe it was a show that you weren't there, because I know within the past month we were just talking about the idea of clearing and covering stories about that. It might have been the very first live show we did because it was just Tim and I. But I know what you're saying, and I have a couple thoughts. First of all, I mean, I do love Bitcoin a whole lot, but if the blockchain is developed and is helpful in other ways, I'm completely okay with that too. I
Oh
mean,
no, yeah, I'm good with that as well.
yeah. So that's my first thought. Uh, the Yeah, I don't know. The idea of using the or a blockchain to manage dollars in that situation, I would I would say, as we often do say, that the dollar, it might take a while, but it really doesn't seem like it's going to work out. And
Well,
eventually, and that's kind of anything with Bitcoin. Well, yeah, like I was just saying, people in Vancouver, they're just going to use the Canadian dollar because that's what they've used forever, and that's just how things work. But eventually, maybe the Canadian dollar is not going to be useful or helpful at all, and that's when people will head to Bitcoin or other cryptos. And it's it's almost like I'm advocating for a financial crisis, and in a way I am, because I just want to get this stuff out of the way, and I want people to realize that things aren't really working out in the
Daniel's calling
in
for the
the
end of the
in
monetary
fiat
system.
currency.
yeah, maybe I should explain a little bit better. The thing that bothers me about this, I guess, is that I feel like a lot of people thought Bitcoin was going to be this thing that like woke everybody up, almost like a conversion tool. Like this is how we're going to get rid of fiat currency. Everybody's going to realize that it's so much better. And I don't know. I guess with all this stuff with banks integrating it and things, I I don't know. I could see it being. I do think that's great. I think that everybody. I mean, it's open source code, and I'm all about open source things and all that kind of stuff, and I have no problem with that. I think everybody should, if they can find a way to use blockchain technology or whatever, go for it. I guess the thing is that if they make fiat currencies look more and more like cryptocurrencies, there's less
Yeah.
reason for average people to figure out what
Yep.
the real difference is. And I guess that's the real thing that I'm seeing is like people thought that everybody's going to switch over because of the technology, and then after that will come the realization that it's better to use this than a
Right.
fiat currency. But if they have the same technology as us, there's nothing to get people's foot in the door. There's no
Yep.
reason for them to explore what like the ideas behind or the ideology behind Bitcoin. And I
I know
think
I know
that
exactly I know exactly what you're saying, and that is a really good point. It's like a a a more I'll get this, a more developed fiat currency, a more technologically advanced fiat currency will sort of allow people to have the best of both worlds. Just like the people in Vancouver use the Canadian dollar every day, they want to stay normal. They don't really want to change. They just want to they want to do things the same way with their own currency. But if they can have that and have the technological advances of the blockchain, faster transactions, low fees, then you're right, John. They're gonna go for the one that gives them the best of both worlds, and they might not realize that that real cryptocurrency has completely different advantages. Now, I would still argue that eventually, when the Canadian dollar fails, then they'll be kicked in the right direction. But it's kind of like, I think this was just last week, we were talking about Ecuador having their own cryptocurrency. And that's really what it would be like, where it's a fiat currency, but it uses blockchain technology. And the difference is who controls the blockchain, right? You can have a distributed blockchain, and you could develop it such that the government can still control it, right? it would be it defeats the purpose. It really, really defeats the purpose. But people aren't going to really realize that. They're just going to say, "Hey, I can send my money really quickly and really cheaply online, and I can still use my own currency." Well, sure, I'll go with that. Heck yeah. And in that situation, they're going to take steps towards those towards those blockchains without considering the fact that it's still heavily manipulated by the state. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
Am I
yeah,
covering
I
it
think
right?
that's exactly right. And yeah, I mean, I I think in some ways it's a good thing because yeah, I'd rather fiat currencies be faster and more secure, except that it's going to keep people from turning over to cryptocurrency. It's like how you were saying you almost in some ways hope for a financial crisis. I don't know
Right.
if banks and governments start going more and more this way, I just see if there ever is a collapse or like if there ever is a time where cryptocurrencies hit like mass acceptance, that's what I meant to say. Yeah, if there ever is that point, I feel like it's going to take a lot longer to get there if people keep going in this direction.
Yeah. And it is tough. I mean, it's as long as the dollar works, as long as it's there, people are going to have a tough time changing. And it stinks to say it, but you really do. You need it to fail eventually in order for things to get better. And that's the way everything is everywhere in life. I mean, things get better when things go wrong, right? When things fail, then people develop solutions, or if the solution's already there, then people finally realize that they should adopt the solution. So it'll take time, and it'll be a tough transition for a lot of people. I mean, if there really is a crisis, and if that really is what forces people into Bitcoin, not really forces. I mean, they're going to choose it because it's better, but a lot of people are gonna be hurting. But that's if Bitcoin really is better, then that could be what has to happen in order to get
Yeah,
people to
the
use
only
it. So
the only other thing I could say is that like if we're trying to get people to switch over, maybe we should stop talking about how fast and secure it is and start talking about why it's actually
yeah,
different.
yeah,
Because like I was saying, I think that's like people have been using it almost as a conversion tool, and that's not going to work now that banks and stuff are starting to use this. You're going to have to
right, right,
change. You're going to have to change people's hearts and minds first, rather than
yeah.
later.
And that is pretty interesting because that's sort of the direction that this podcast has developed since day one. It started as just Bitcoin. Well, I think our first episode, well, one of our first, second, third episodes was about Bitcoin ethics, and that's when Tim first was telling me like, well, nobody controls it, and that's a good thing. And ever since then, we more and more often start talking about the liberty aspect of it, the fact that nobody controls it, and it is your own money, and you can have more freedom through Bitcoin. And that's why I'm going to get this pointing again. That's why we've now developed into your Bitcoin and Liberty podcast, because that is a huge aspect of it. It's not just the technology, it's the freedom that comes through decentralization. And yeah, it's huge, absolutely huge.
Yeah, I mean, well, maybe it was different than you, but at least I think for me and Tim, we only got into Bitcoin because of that.
I know it was exactly the opposite for me, and I tell people that a lot. Like, I just got into Bitcoin, and then all of a sudden I realized that Liberty was a thing.
Yeah, I mean, I think for
And,
me and Tim, it was like Adam Kokesh and
Yeah.
right, right. Oh man. Well, let's see. Any other thoughts on that, or should we jump into the brick and mortar store? This is actually a really interesting story. But any other thoughts?
No.
Okay. So before we jump into that, we still got, decent amount of time left, 45 minutes. So if anybody has any thoughts at all, uh, thoughts on Bitcoin becoming the MySpace of blockchain technology, if you think a financial crisis is necessary, if you've got a question
That should have
for
been the
us.
poll. Do you want
Do you
the entire world infrastructure to collapse so that people start using Bitcoin?
Right. Oh man, maybe next week. But yeah, so if you have, geez, Tim, I, I shout too much. I'm echoing still through your mic, because that microphone sucks. Is the bottom line there.
Excuse
If
me.
if you want to send us a tweet, hashtag YMBLive at YouMeAndBTC. There's a button at youmeandbtc.com/live that will just bring up a tweet box with all that filled in. Anything at all. If you have a headline you want us to cover, we tend to go off on headlines for quite a while, so you might want to get that in soon so we can make sure we have time to cover it. And our poll is still running at youmeandbtc.com/live. The question is about Dope. It's a new movie coming out this Friday, so 2 days from now. You want to see it? It features Bitcoin, and they're accepting Bitcoin for tickets. We covered that at the very beginning of the show. I'm excited to see it. I'm a little hesitant because who knows if it's actually going to be any good, but I'm still excited, and I'm excited to spend Bitcoin. And that's another thing, like we've been talking about. People have stopped accepting Bitcoin because nobody's spending it. Well, I want to spend it then. I want to make use of it. I want people to see that I'm using it and that I like it. So I'm going to spend Bitcoin to buy my tickets. And if you want to answer the poll, youmeandbtc.com/live. You can also fill in an other response. Just tell us whatever you want. I don't know. We got a maybe response, so.
That was me.
All right. Anyway, we'll give Jenna Trust and Wall of Coins another shout out. They've been great. Wallofcoins.com. Buy Bitcoin with cash. Sell Bitcoin for cash super quickly. So check that out if you're interested. Wallofcoins.com. Keep the tweets rolling in. Okay. Listen, this is. I don't know. It's just a really interesting story. So you guys know Purse.io, right? Have you ever heard of them?
We only talk about them in every single podcast and every single live show.
I know. We really
I almost
do.
mentioned them earlier today, and I purposefully didn't. And I was like, we talk about them too much to not be getting paid for it.
That's a true statement. They really need to sponsor us. But listen, they have started the world's first Bitcoin-only brick-and-mortar store in San Francisco. I'm gonna have to get Andrew Lee on the line and see if we can get an interview with him, because this is pretty cool. I mean,
yeah, we had him before, didn't we? Early on.
Yeah. We might have had him
back when we were nobody and Purse was nobody.
Yeah, we were both nobody. We helped make Purse the people that they are. I don't know. We kind of did, actually. So
We played our small part, or we could just play ourselves up and say that they only got to where they are now because of that early time that we were. Actually, did we ever interview them early on, or did that never happen?
Yeah, we did.
No, we did.
Okay.
No, I'm pretty sure they got where they are because it's such a great idea.
One of the times we had to do it twice because the audio got lost, and so we had to repeat the exact same interview. It was kind of weird, but we made it happen. Anyway, the store is called Nakamoto's. It's kind of like all those stores, like you don't even realize it anymore, like Aldi's or Lowe's or I don't know what other. They're just stores that are some guy's last name, a possessive last name, and you don't even realize that it's somebody out there was named Lowe, and he started this company called Lowe's. But that's what it is. And this one is Nakamoto's, which is obviously kind of not completely true because Nakamoto isn't actually the one that runs the store. But that's what it's called. And they sell all kinds of stuff. I mean, electronics. I'm trying to see if I can find a list. I know I saw one the other day. This story's from CoinDesk too, if anybody cares. Well, the story is actually from February 13th, but I know that they're open now, and that's fairly new. Uh, how the heck is this from February 13th? I swear I saw this more. I swear I saw it yesterday, and there was some kind of news. So I don't know. Maybe it's a few months old, but it's still super cool, and it's still fairly related to what we've been talking about. People accepting Bitcoin, and you know, hopefully, Bitcoin only. That's got to be an interesting effort. And I guess if you're in San Francisco, there's a lot more of a technical population, and a lot of people will be more likely to use Bitcoin. So it probably would work out better there. But anyway, there's not a lot to say other than it's really cool. They sell electronics and who knows what, and they only accept Bitcoin. So open Wednesday to Sunday from 14 to 22 Pacific time.
Wednesday to Sunday. So the weekend is Monday and Tuesday. That's one way to deal with Mondays.
You just make it the weekend. That's a true statement. Oh, cool. Well,
they're like, oh man, it's a Wednesday.
I know. I got a case of the Wednesdays today.
Everybody else is on hump day, and they're like, man, it's Wednesday.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I will, over the next few days, I'll look into this more. And if they really did just open, or if they just announced something new, because I swear I saw that it was news just the other day. And we might get Andrew Lee on the horn and have a chat with him. So, okay, cool. I don't even care. You guys, I'll let you guys fight over it. Anybody have a next interesting, fascinating, super story that we should cover?
I have a little one about.
Did we cover shapeshift, or did I just
Don't let me
mention
talk or nothing, Daniel. Sorry.
I don't know. Well, did we cover I just mentioned shapeshift. We didn't actually cover it, did we?
I don't think you ever did it. No.
Yeah, you said we were going to talk about it later.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, I'm actually gonna take that over then, because that's one I've been dying to cover. So
You
keep
don't have
whatever
to
you
make
got
any
in
more
mind.
excuses. You're doing it anyway.
I'm not making.
What the heck is happening right now? Oh, man. I just hear both of you like.
Oh, sorry. I hope it's not lagging too much, but it is what it is. Yeah, Shapeshift. Now that's an extremely well-funded company. It's the CEO is Eric Voorhees, and I've seen advertisements for them all over the frickin' place. And I've never actually used it because I've never had much of a reason to, but basically it's a cryptocurrency exchange with no accounts. You don't have to make an account. You don't need to give your email or anything. You just send money to one place and you get a different cryptocurrency out in another place. So it's a pretty cool concept, and a lot of people love it, and it works pretty darn well. But the news is that they are leaving New York because of the bit license. I'll read a paragraph or two here from the press release. The company says New York's new anti-competitive licensing scheme, which targets a wide swath of digital currency and blockchain-based financial firms, violates consumer protections and puts users at risk. And that's a big part of it. They mentioned the fact that they have to collect so much data on their customers and keep it in a database. And he's like, well, no, I'm not okay with collecting data because that could get hacked. He says in June this year alone, and keep in mind we're only 2 weeks into June, and this press release, I don't know, came out a few days ago. in June this year alone, millions of Americans have been hacked, and it says private records of millions of Americans have been stolen from government computers. So it's like, listen, you guys can't even keep this stuff safe, and now you want every crypto company in New York to start handling all this information? Sorry, nope, not going to do it. We're leaving New York. I I stand behind that 100%. Go for it, Eric Voorhees. Keep it up. Don't know what to say. It's great. Any thoughts?
I think it's great. And I also like how they're talking about the privacy issues because
Yeah.
a lot of people might just use this as an example to say like F you and just like get out of there. Or like to do, yeah, more like just trying to stand up, and they're like, no, there's actually a serious problem with this. So that's
Right. Yeah. A lot of people want to resist. A lot of people want to disobey. But to
yeah, they're not.
actually say this is going to hurt people, that's important.
Yeah,
Well, it's not it's the press release, but it says that the any website traffic from New York is being redirected to a new website, pleaseprotectconsumers.org. And it's just about identity theft and trying to, contact the government and tell them not to do this kind of crap. So, and I don't know. A big question would be is how is New York going to react? I mean, this is just one company, but if a lot of companies started leaving, do you think there's any hope of them relaxing the regulations? I mean, everybody.
I mean, this is
People
the place that
putting
made
in-
made it so that you couldn't order a certain size soft
Yeah.
drink, Daniel. So I wouldn't really expect much out of them.
I was thinking the same
Touche.
thing.
Touche. Yeah, holy crap! That's a good call, and that's a freaking joke. Oh my gosh! What the heck? Honestly,
Yeah, I forgot that was still a thing. Like there are still people who believe that or believe in that kind of thing.
I mean, that got taken away, I believe.
Oh, it did?
Yeah, it's not still going on, as I hope. But, yeah, they at least had it in there for a little bit.
People who don't believe that America is full of civil rights violations.
Sort of.
If all the black people that died in the last few months from police officers wasn't enough to convince you.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, it was actually
All right.
McDonald's. It was the Coke. It was just killing everybody. All that sugar. It's terrible.
I know
Anyway.
sugar. It's terrible. I mean, I do hate sugar though. I mean, I'm not gonna hold people at gunpoint to stop them from taking sugar, but Tim knows that sugar screws me up way too much.
Wait, I
so-
thought you loved sugar.
No, he does. But
I
it's kind of
do.
like it's like
But
someone hates like cigarettes or cocaine or something. It's just Daniel does it with more pedestrian things that are just destroying his teeth instead of his heart.
That's true. It's true. All right.
So you hate yourself. It's just this like
Yeah.
I need-
Circle of self-loathing.
I need
I hate
sugar.
myself for
Masochistic.
hating myself.
thing.
He goes for a while, and then I come over, and I come in the house, and he's just like he's got sugar all around him. And he's
He's just like he's just collapsed on the floor with like
I drink
like
three
chocolate
things
syrup
straight.
around his mouth.
John, you see that's you're joking, but that's actually what happened to me.
No,
the other day.
I wasn't really joking. I mean, I know that's happened to you in the past.
I could not get off the floor because I drank a bottle of Sprite. So
Yeah, I mean, I've heard about your Pepsi Max stories. And everything. No, it wasn't really too much of a joke. Collapsed on the floor
Oh,
with
man.
chocolate smeared all over you.
that's happened too. I was home one weekend and I was sleeping on the couch and my sister said she came down and there was a chunk of chocolate like this big sitting on the bed, whatever table, whatever. So with teeth marks in it. So it was from one of
person.
it was from
He
one of
left
those
his
giant
mark.
10-pound bars of chocolate. So all right.
Well, I think that would do it for most people.
All right, we got
5,000 calories in 20 minutes. I'm dead.
5,000 is a conservative estimate.
Yes.
we gotta move on. We gotta move on, Tim. I'm gonna let you take on whatever the story you were or whatever one I cut you off with. So.
Okay. Well, this is another one from my former acquaintance Jamie Redmond from Facebook. He's writing for Cointelegraph. Apparently, I don't know why, this is one of these stupid little things that British people do to make people feel better about stuff. The British Library recently conducted a survey with 3,000 participants with the purpose of creating a digital Magna Carta for the internet age, resulting in a top 10 list of declarations for the World Wide Web. And they conducted the survey between the ages of 10 and 18. So it's all about how the web is going to be free, and they demand that it be free, and they don't want companies
between the
to...
ages of 10 and 18?
Yeah, it's the Millennials, Daniel. We're part of it still, and we're supposed to fix everything that everyone else fucked up, apparently.
How did a 10-year-old even vote on this stuff?
I don't know. I like the internet because I can watch Minecraft videos.
They probably did it in school or something.
Yeah, I mean, that's a decent point.
But I mean, what are their Don't get me wrong. There are plenty of extremely smart children out there, but they're not informed enough.
Most people older. I don't hear most opinions about why the internet should be free, because most people are going to be like this is. I mean, I'll read it. It's okay. We don't want companies to be able to control it. We don't want governments to restrict our right to information. The web. We want free speech, no censorship. No censorship. They said the same thing twice, so already showing you where that goes. I want to be available to all those who wish to use it, which automatically cuts out a bunch of people because I'm sure they want to use it. But again, it makes you feel good because you can just say it's going to be free because we'll somehow get this money out of nowhere.
Yeah, I mean, if you ask a kid, do you think that everyone should have the internet if they want it?
Kids, Daniel. That's people our age. They're fucking retarded. I always want it to be free. Just give people stuff.
I thought you said 10. I thought you said it was 10 to 18.
I know. I'm talking about. You're saying that just like 10-year-old kids, what do they know about the internet?
Oh, but you're saying people our age would do it too.
Yes, everybody wants to have this free internet that comes out of nowhere.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's a right in Finland.
Yes, it's a right. I deserve to be able to talk. I'm like, what?
A couple of years ago, they did that.
Yeah, the internet's it's a right, but
yeah, coming from with it, but internet is basically just like a protocol, and anybody could start their own internet.
Yeah, so technically it is free, I guess.
All you need is two computers.
Yeah, we should start our own internet and force. This is what we'll do. We're gonna develop a specialized hardware that you need to access our internet, and we're going to get a patent on this hardware, and then we're going to take it to Finland and say, hey, everybody has to have access to our internet, so you have to buy.
Or just they force you to just to quit doing that, Daniel, because you're keeping other people from your internet. Which is actually
what they would do is they would force us to make a whole bunch of that hardware and give it to them for free.
That's probably right too.
Then we give everybody the internet, and you have to make it happen. So, oh gosh, what story were we on again? Oh, this.
No, just talking about that they do this, and actually, it wasn't a list of what they had on it. It was just like the top declarations. That's why every single other person says we don't want to be censored by the government.
Yeah, but I don't know. Did they write their own declarations, or did they just vote on a list? I mean,
here's the 10 things that you're allowed to declare.
Yes,
pick 5 of them.
We will not be censored.
You can only pick 5. Like, you guys just have to prioritize here. You're not allowed to have all 10, but here's your options.
I think it was like you were allowed to put in your own declaration. I think. I don't know actually. It's supposed to be like a Magna Carta.
There's like multiple choice, and then
it's
at
like
the bottom, other, please.
Yeah. when they bring together schools and the internet, they try to do this thing where it's like, well, just everybody say something stupid and we'll feel better about it.
Was there?
We want to be free
was
from censorship and mass surveillance, but we also want the government to run it for free somehow. I don't understand.
Sometimes I forget that like Europe is different than America. 'Cause I feel like this wouldn't happen in America. They'd just be like, "Oh, we don't care."
This
You
is
could say-
actually. This
They would
is.
what? Okay, yeah.
This crossed my mind actually at the very beginning of the show, but I forgot to when we were talking about pop culture, and I forgot to bring it up. So I will now. There's two things. First of all, we did that is privacy overrated episode. I don't know, 3 or 4 or 5 episodes ago. And, it was a fun episode. It was interesting, but a week or so later, there was a huge article on Liberty.me. I mean, tons and tons of traffic. And I might have, no, I don't think I sent it to you, Tim, but it was just all about government surveillance and how and it was a good article. It really was. Just about how, well, it started with the story of Anne Frank. And here's the thing. This article was like, I forget, 5,000 or 10,000 words long. So it's honestly a book-length article, but it started with Anne Frank and explaining that, well, and the reason is because the reason he had this story is because he was, when the Snowden, NSA surveillance revelations were made, he read about that like the day he visited Germany and Anne Frank's residence or whatever. I don't even know if it's in Germany, but
I think it's in
and
Holland, isn't it?
yeah, maybe. And he realized that Anne Frank and her family, the only reason that all of this happened was because they put on their passport a decade earlier or whenever they listed Jew on their passport, and that's how all this happened. And I'm in the middle of renewing my passport now, and I'm scared to death. I mean, not because I'm a Jew, but because I don't know what. I don't want to do it. I don't want to do.
Wait, all of what happened? Them getting caught was because of that?
Well, them having to hide for whatever months, however long they had to hide, and then eventually they got caught. They were targeted because they put on their passports that they were a Jew. And so yeah, no, I'm filling out a passport now, and I don't want to do it. I'm scared to death.
Don't say you're a Jew.
But anyway, this article, it's really long, really detailed, and my point is just that, yeah, I mean, we're not going to go through that whole conversation again. There are some difficult things when it comes to privacy because you don't want to be so sealed up to the extent that you're still not free, right? Like, you don't want to lock yourself in and remain so private just to avoid the government to such an extent that you're actually not free. You're completely ruining your life in order to please them or in order not to displease them. So that's an interesting discussion, and it's thoughts on surveillance. And anyway, then the pop culture thought that I had earlier was another article that the same guy wrote a few days later, and it likewise got tons of traffic. But holy shit, it's a Katy Perry. I don't like Katy Perry anymore.
I read this article.
Yeah, I used to like her music. I mean, it's pop music, so it's not great, but it's fun to listen to. I don't know if I can do it anymore. This music video is just a gigantic commercial for the military. She's wearing.
Yeah, doesn't she join the Marines in it or something?
Yeah. She's
this
like her husband's cheating on her. It's what?
This is the old video or something like.
I don't know how it is.
I think it's part of me.
You get cheated on, so you go join the military because then you feel and your self-confidence goes up because now you're part of a group, and that's really the only way you're going to feel better about yourself is if you're part of a group, Daniel.
Yeah, I mean,
Don't actually achieve anything yourself. Just join a group.
yeah. Well, listen, I mean, the whole video is just a joke, so I don't need to describe everything. But one of the nastiest parts was I didn't watch the video, but I saw a screenshot of just like a bumper sticker type of thing and it said from the video, and it said all women were created equal, and then some became Marines.
They have that. They have that normal thing, like all men are created equal.
Yeah, I don't know if that was from the video. That might have just been a thing.
That's a thing, yeah. Or you're once a Marine, always, like even after they're out of the Marines, but they are better than you. But Daniel, they kill people for them, so they are better than you. They're not disgusting either, Daniel. They're fucking heroes, and you should take it back.
That is now.
I read that article, and I really should watch the video. I haven't, but I don't know. I thought the article was a little like conflated.
What is the article? I didn't really pay attention to.
It was a Liberty.me article, and it was all about how like this. He was basically just like deconstructing the music video, I guess. And I think I don't think, like Katy Perry, he even quoted Katy Perry that she just said something like, I wanted to convey like strength or something. And yeah, like, I think it's kind of messed up that that's people's idea of strength, but I don't think Katy Perry had some kind of like ulterior motives. I feel like it was kind of just like, oh, this is a music video idea.
What's going to work for people?
No, I mean, her personally, like, sure. I mean, she has hardly any say in anything that she does. I
wouldn't say that.
I don't think she's going to put up it's whatever's going to make the most money, whatever's going to make the music videos the most appealing, and anything that the military just shoots up the brains of people. And goes, ooh, that's good.
Well, it's not only that, but like you're communicating through a song and a music video, and like whatever she was trying to say, the common people will understand it through the way that she explained it. Because I think the thing was more about her like being a strong woman than it was anything about the military. And I think the military was just kind of like a way of saying that she was strong. And yeah, that's how most people are going to understand it. So like, I guess in a sense, it was an effective.
First of all, I still stand by the fact that it's not really herself. I mean, she doesn't write any of the music. She doesn't write the music videos. I mean, she's just
that's not
to put on the.
That's not really entirely true.
It doesn't really matter because I think what Daniel's you're trying to say is that she doesn't have anything. You're not blaming her personally, correct? Because even if she does write her own, it's not like she's selling stuff. She's not making a message here, Daniel. I think is part of it. I don't think there's anything ever being really sold. There's never a pro-military beyond the culture that we live in.
I mean, I would have to see the actual movie, but I would not be a tiny bit surprised if it was a sponsorship, if they paid her. Because the military pays for advertisements all the time.
In movies, they give you free shit if you do that because it's a sponsorship for them. Yeah, okay. Like any movie, like the Zero Dark 30 or American Sniper or really any of the things, as long as you are making that, then they'll give you a lot of money. And they'll give you a lot of equipment just to make videos of it, because it does it. If you see it on YouTube, you see in the movies, you go, "Ooh, that looks cool. I want to do that," and that's how they get more people to join. So I mean, I guess you're technically right then about that being a form of advertising. Yeah.
I didn't mean like buying equipment. I meant quite literally, hey, we'll pay you to make a video supporting us. That's what I mean.
Said?
I mean, I would have to check, so I don't want to make that official, but I would not be the slightest bit surprised.
I don't know that that's true or false, and either way, I would probably side more with Tim. But like, if you think about Katy Perry as an artist, I think it kind of fits with her thing. She's a very stylized artist, like very aesthetic. like if you look at all of her videos, they have a very strong.
There's a theme to each one, isn't there?
Yeah, they're all very stylized, and she likes like picking a certain aesthetic and kind of like or exploring that, I guess. And I think the military thing is just like an aesthetic to her more than anything else. Like she'll have a video where everybody's dressed like a piece of candy or something like that. It's just this aesthetic. It's basically just how do I want to say this? It's just like a palette of things to work with, and I feel like that's what this video comes down to. It's just
it's
just like an aesthetic to work within.
Right.
I think it's more that than anything else.
Right. And what I would say then, though, is that, okay, so maybe she's not that much of a douchebag. Maybe she's just trying to make something cool. Maybe she's just trying to catch people's attention and stuff like that. That's fine. But then, and in fact, even if she was paid for it, you could still transfer the blame from her to the state, just because the state advocates that opinion where the military is glorified, where the military does make money for whatever people. If you make a music video about going to war, you'll get more money in a lot of situations, and so either way,
I think it says more. Go finish.
I was flagging quite a bit.
I totally missed the end of it. But I think, for my money, it says more about cultural assumptions than it does about Katy Perry or the government. She's just, to me, I think she's just speaking a language that people understand.
Right.
And so, like, I don't fault her for it at all.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Whether you fault her or not, I totally agree. The cultural assumptions are pretty nasty. So that's it, whether it's her fault, whether it's a state fault. It's just the fact that the culture glorifies this and adores this so much. I think that's pretty messed up. I don't know if maybe I twisted the cultural assumptions. I don't know if that's what you meant.
Yeah, but you can see that in everything, though, Daniel. Not just in Katy Perry's things. Like, I think you're. I definitely agree with you, but not necessarily just because of that. I think that's one of the lesser examples. But
yeah, no, I just thought the article on this was a little like sensational and like conflated. I was like, so what? Like, this crap is this is no different than anything else.
Yeah, well, they want to pick on like a. What was the guy specifically doing? Pop culture things, maybe.
No, he was specifically just doing this one video.
Oh.
That's what the article was about. He was just going through this one video.
Okay, so we're coming up on the end here. So we're gonna we'll do a quick closer. We should make it a Bitcoin one because we've been talking about
all over the place.
Pop culture and the military for quite a while.
Industrial complex.
So somebody post a link for a quick fun one, whatever. I'm gonna remind people poll. Actually, I don't remember if I set it to close, but still, we're going to be done in 10 minutes. So if you want to get your vote in the poll, tell us if you're interested in seeing the movie Dope, which comes out this Friday. And if you're interested in spending Bitcoin, we'd love to know your thoughts there. And the poll is at youmeandbtc.com/live. If you have any thoughts, questions, comments, if you have a headline that you'd like us to squeeze in here at the end, we can try and make it happen. And we ask you to send a tweet to @YouMeAndBTC with the hashtag YMBLive. That's and actually, I guess I should say, even if you don't squeeze it in here in the next 10 minutes, we are. Tweet us anytime throughout the week, whenever you want. Any thoughts at all about anything, honestly, and we can get them on the on the show if you're interested, especially headlines. Actually, I want to say now that we got one this week. Actually, I wonder. I bet what happened is somebody sent us one, and I read it. It might have been the Shapeshift one, or I don't know. I think somebody sent us one, and I read it, and I think we did cover it because that's probably how I found it. But sorry, I can't give credit because I don't remember the exact situation. Anyway, the point is, tweet us anytime, and we'll get at that. youandbtc.com/live. That's where you can watch, listen, tweet us. There's a button right there, and vote in our poll. You got a few minutes left. So, okay, so let's gonna do our closer and make it a quick one, I guess. 9 minutes. That's a decent segment. I can't believe 2 hours straight, no commercials. That's a tough. A lot of people would say that's a lot of time. So, but we make it happen, I guess. So,
Yeah, I mean, I think we could talk for a lot longer than that.
well, yeah,
As long
but
as we have
well,
keeping
yeah,
on
we
Bitcoin is the only hard thing. We don't always do that the best.
We
right.
could
No,
probably
I mean,
go back and talk about Katy Perry for another hour.
that's absolutely true. I mean, a lot of radio shows go for 3 hours. That's kind of the standard. So it's not. I didn't mean that. I meant the fact that there's no breaks at all. I mean,
Yeah.
we just sit here and chat. So,
Yeah.
all right.
I'd be up for talking about Katy Perry for another hour.
I know. I would too, but I wanted to move on because it's not quite Bitcoin. So.
No, it's definitely not. No.
All right, Tim, I'm gonna let you take away this Stripe to launch in Nordic countries.
Okay. It's just that Stripe is now announcing it's expanding to Sweden, Denmark, Norway, and Finland, and it's going to be competing with Sweden's billion-dollar fintech startup Klarna. And Stripe is a way of accepting, putting like a way for someone to start accepting Bitcoin, an easy way for a business.
It started with credit cards, but they integrated with Bitcoin eventually.
Okay. Yes. Okay. They started with Bitcoin, ladies, or credit cards,
Wow.
ladies and gentlemen. There, Daniel, you explained Stripe for them. I don't know. I just saw that they were starting to move in.
It's just a processor, just like Square or PayPal has a lot of similar features. It's a credit card processor, and they integrated with Bitcoin. One cool thing, what Patreon, right? That's the podcast like supporting service.
Well, it's just a
Yeah.
content
Yeah, it's
supporting
not just
service.
podcast, but yeah.
Okay, maybe it wasn't Patreon, but it was a similar website for content supporting. And I looked at it months ago, and I thought it was pretty cool, but I didn't see it. Somebody sent it to me and suggested using it for the show, and I thought it was pretty cool, but I didn't see any Bitcoin options on there, and I figured, well, if we're a Bitcoin podcast, we should really accept Bitcoin donations or whatever. And then the person that sent me the article was saying that, well, it's run through Stripe. That's Stripe is the processor behind this platform, and so maybe there is a way to use Bitcoin in it. And I'm not sure if I ever found it or figured out if that's possible. I still never saw the Bitcoin options. But anyway, point is, it's cool. I mean, the credit cards, if you know us, I mean, the credit cards are kind of whatever. But sure, I mean, if you'll take Bitcoin and if you'll expand to more countries, I mean, yeah, why not? Oh, it says it's a $1 billion startup. That's pretty crazy. Well, launched in 2005. Is it still a startup if you launched in 2005? When does a company stop being a startup?
Yeah, it's a good question.
If you started in 2005 and you're worth $1 billion. Oh man. All right. Well, yeah, that was a good quick closer. Just a quick piece of news, something to share. What'd you say?
Just actually didn't close it entirely.
What do you mean? Oh,
We
no,
have
well,
4 minutes.
Tim, we have
I'm on my
to,
birthday, and let me find something.
we have to say goodbye, Tim. That takes a while.
Oh, that's it. Okay.
So, yeah, we will thank you for joining us. Seriously, though, I'm joking at Tim, but to our audience, I'm completely serious. Thanks for being here. Was an awesome time, solid 2 hours, and haven't left this chair. So, but we
Me
made
either.
it. So,
I do really have to poop and pee though.
there you go, guys. Yeah, hope you enjoy those thoughts. Come back tomorrow. We actually just this morning we did an interview with uh, Joe Lee
Yeah, Joe
from
Lee.
Manger. Did I say it right, Tim?
Yeah. Yeah, Joe Lee
From
Manger.
Manger.com, Mangr.com. He's starting a Bitcoin savings account, and it's going to pay interest and everything. So, yeah, you can learn how it works. It's an interesting concept because, I mean, the money's got to come from somewhere. So it's, in a way, you're investing in their exchange and their services and stuff. And because he said they're going to deploy those funds. I don't know. There's a lot to it. And so tune in tomorrow, Thursday, for our regular podcast. But that's only the first half of the show. I have no clue what the second half's going to be about because we haven't recorded it yet. So.
Yeah, I didn't realize you guys did that this morning. I was gonna ask
Yeah.
you if we did
Well,
a show.
we just no, we just set it up last night, and I knew you would be working. So
Yeah.
but we'll work out. Well, we'll talk off the air, but we'll figure out the second half.
Oh wait, we had that
do me-
Snowden thing.
Cool.
Oh yeah, we did say we wanted to cover that. Oh yeah,
What
definitely.
was the thing with Snowden?
It wasn't actually
Oh,
about.
yeah. Okay, I remember for the show, yeah. Okay.
So tune in tomorrow. See you next Wednesday, 1 to 3 p.m. Eastern, for more Bitcoin headlines. Again, anytime throughout the week, send a tweet to at YouMeAndBTC with the hashtag YMBLive. Silk Toad, he'll be here next week too. Tim and John, it'll be a ton of fun. And one last thank you to Genitrust, wallofcoins.com. I should see, I might have some deposits. I should probably verify those, so I got to get on that. Wallofcoins.com. I really wish we could do some music, but we can't. I realized just last week that the music comes through my stream, so whenever Tim and John talk, it cuts out, and it really sounds awful. So no music. We'll have to think about that. I really want to fix that, but Google Hangouts can be a pain. All right, guys. Thanks for being here. Anything else before we go? Before we let John take care of business?
Yeah, I'm about to poop my pants for real.
Okay, on that note, thanks for being here. I'm going to cut the show. We'll see you tomorrow on the podcast and in exactly 1 week. Thanks, everybody.